Welcome to Second Listen Saturday on the Parenting Roundabout podcast, where we share some fun moments from a past episode for your weekend listening pleasure. Look for new episodes every Monday through Friday.
'Tis the season to lie to children.
Every season is the season.
Isn't that the truth? Does that ever stop? I mean, we're telling our kids all sorts of things from the day they're born. Just yeah. Isn't that why fairy tales were songs,
right?
children's songs? It was kind of to keep them in line, and
right.
I know all those sort of little myths and stories. But anyway, yeah.
We're talking about more direct dishonesty, right?
Yeah. We're talking about what lies have you told your children, whether it's for their safety or out of convenience. For example, oh, look at the deer in the forest as we drive down the highway so that she doesn't have to look on the other side of the highway where the bathroom is. Because if she sees a gap with a going to stop there. So she turns her head in the opposite direction, looks for the deer that, of course, is non-existent. But
see, I was thinking more of the time where you tell your kid, look at the building over there to keep them from seeing the dead deer in the road, which is what we see here more.
Yeah.
No, because there was a time where every time we passed a gas station, she needed to go, and we loved gas station bathrooms. Like, oh
my goodness.
No.
Wow.
But anyway, yeah, so in this article, I got the idea from an article here, or the topic from an article that was on the Offspring site of lifehacker.com, the Offspring page. Anyway, this parent sort of outlines, what types of things. I guess the author, their son had a hermit crab that he got for Christmas last year, and this crab lived for 2 months, but rather than tell the child that the crab had passed away, they told the child that Crabber was his name, was sick and needed to go to the crab hospital to get a new shell. So they kept this lie going on about, the Crabber was at the crab hospital. Vacationing, swimming, trying on new shells. Apparently not the kind of hospital we go to. And,
yeah, right?
Oh, dear.
And then recently, Crabber 2.0 made his grand return home. And the child never knew that, it was not the same crab. So
that is an elaborate lie. Man.
I know. They really took that to extremes.
Crabber even sent a postcard saying that.
Yeah. That's a whole nother topic. Not only what lies do you tell your kids, but how elaborate do you get? Because then when eventually they find out it was a lie, do they wonder, man, how much time did you spend on that?
Yeah.
And how much does it compound the lie to have made this entire infrastructure? That's what, people who have elaborate Santa rituals.
Oh my gosh.
And Elf on the Shelf rituals. Yeah. That's, you're investing in that untruth.
Right.
Yeah. That's time consuming. Well, and interestingly, my husband's, he tells of a story when he was younger. I might have even told this before on the podcast, of this sort of story that his parents had, I'm going to use the word cooked up, pun, for him, but he had a pet rabbit named Tiny Tim.
Uh-oh.
And
this is I'm worried already.
So many lies involve dead animals.
Yeah, so Tiny Tim went missing one day. And Peter, my husband looked for it and couldn't find it. And then a couple of nights later, they had some stew with some questionable meat in it.
Oh, no! Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
This
Peter,
is taking a terrible turn.
My husband he had pretty much caught on to what was going on with his parents. Where
you Canadians are brutal.
Yeah,
They're
they're
hunters,
joking around.
man. Living in the woods. Not all of us. I don't want to start that stereotype.
Oh, dear.
But his parents denied it and still deny it to this day.
Oh, my
That was
gosh.
time to get a stew.
Oh, my gosh.
That's like when,
We just went and bought a completely different rabbit to have for dinner, honey.
right. We one time when we saw this little advertisement for come visit our farm. We have brand new baby lambs, and you can see the babies, and we thought, oh, that's so adorable. Let's take the kids. And we took the kids, and we got to go to this 100-year-old barn, and all these cute little baby lambs with like fleece, like the artificial fleece that we make clothes and blankets out of. They all had little blankets made out of that, and it was adorable. And then they're like, come on in the house afterwards, we have treats. Yeah, what kind of treats did they have besides the cookies? Lamb stew.
Oh, no.
In the house. And that was when we were like, look over here, there's cookies. Because it turns out that you were visiting the lambs so you could pick out which one you wanted.
Oh, of course you were. Of course you
We
were.
had no idea.
Oh,
no
my.
idea. We were like city people that could not figure that out.
Thought it was a petting zoo, but no.
Totally. That's how it was advertised.
It was the meat aisle of the supermarket.
See, that's almost as bad as the Tiny Tim story.
I know. At
Yes.
least we didn't actually eat our pet
true.
lamb that we didn't have.
Oh, my.
True.
But
This
I
is
have
so
definitely done the replace a fish with another fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lie. I have, but I did not cook up the whole like the fish is at the fish hospital, swimming around recovering.
That's
No,
where it
we
starts to get
we
dicey
just
for me.
sneaked it in the middle. But we also we had that problem with Santa. Because every other year we would be at my mother-in-law's, and like then you had to combine like how she did it,
Right.
how my brother-in-law did it, and how we did it, and we had to reorganize everything
Right.
Yes.
to make it all equal, and like, well, what's Santa giving, and what are we giving, and what is she
Right.
giving, and is it wrapped or not, and do you get it on Christmas Eve or do you get it on Christmas morning,
And then you get into the conversation of, you don't believe in Santa, but so-and-so still does. So we're just going to act like it's real. No, it's not really lying. I know I told you lying is bad. Lying is bad.
Right.
But this isn't really lying. Well, yes, we are saying something is true that's not. But keep your mouth shut.
exactly.
Yeah.
Do not get me in trouble with the in-laws. So
And the other parents at school.
exactly. Yes. Yes. It is not necessary to go to school and say, hey, guess what? Which is, I think, what I did when I was a kid, because I was just not the nicest child. But
Well,
truth teller,
my daughter, my daughter found out about the tooth fairy so speaking of routines and traditions, trying to coordinate
Yeah.
between family members, I was trying to coordinate between countries at the time because
Oh.
her tooth fell out while we were in Canada. And the tooth fairy brought American money.
Oh.
So how come the tooth
Oh,
fairy gave
dear.
her American money while she was in Canada?
Wow.
So there was this whole debacle about the currency that the tooth fairy was dealing
So
in.
much to think about. What a tangled web we weave.
Our tooth fairy recycled silver dollars that my husband had received when he was a kid, and he
Oh my
still has a
gosh.
little box of them, and he would give them, and the tooth fairy would take from that stash, and then they didn't fit in the piggy bank, so they'd just be sitting around, so they would get moved back into the stash.
Oh, wow.
The
And
endless
reused
supply.
when the time comes, because there's like 32 teeth.
Yeah.
Oh my
That's a
gosh.
fair amount of money that you're
Did you
doing.
guys save the teeth? I think we talked about this before.
No,
I think I maybe have one or two, but
I felt bad throwing them away.
I do
like
feel bad throwing them away, but they're kind of gross.
But then I saw that.
Well, you rinse them off.
That creepy
Don't leave the
show,
blood
Sharp
and gore.
Objects, and forget it.
Yeah. Oh,
Anything to do with teeth
I haven't
anymore.
seen that.
never mind.
Don't.
More things I don't want to hear. La 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 la.
Yeah, don't. That might have been a spoiler for our listeners if they were watching that.
Yeah. And for anybody with doesn't like to hear upsetting things.
Yes.
But yeah, I feel like the lies I tell my kids are more lies of omission. You know, like not telling them things they don't really need to know. There's been a few like that, and I will not go into any more detail than that because sometimes my daughter listens to this podcast, and I always tell the truth, honey. I have never lied to you. I've never left anything out. I wouldn't do that. We'll talk later. But I keep trying to think if there's like, you know, when we adopted our kids, it was right before Christmas, and they were 4 and 18 months. So that first Christmas, there was really no time to do anything, really. We were just, you know, we got back on December 1st, and they didn't speak English, and there was like no particular way to do some big Santa-y lie. So I don't think that we did. And then after that, it just didn't seem, given their ages and all the other things going on, it just didn't seem right. So I don't think we ever did that. I might be wrong.
But how do you avoid that in the
we might
culture
have just,
and in the air?
Yeah, I can't remember what we did. I think we might have just always said, this is a nice story that some people, this is a nice story that we tell. You know, I didn't leave Santa's snowy footprints on the carpet by the tree. You know, I can't remember if we laid out cookies. Maybe we did the first year or two. I don't remember because they did have younger cousins. But I don't think we ever I think I always did a half-hearted job of it. So it wasn't a full out, there's this guy and he's coming down our chimney that we don't have. And, you know, I don't think we did. I think I just always kind of did it like, well, I got to do a little bit because everybody does it, but I don't want to start my relationship with these children with fiction. It just didn't, especially since at that point, you know, by the time of our second Christmas, my daughter was, you know, 5.5.
Yeah.
And you don't want to start it then because that's just when kids are maybe starting to figure it out.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and my son wasn't really communicating that much. So I don't think I could have really told him a story. You know, their language was so delayed. So I think I dodged that quite a bit. And I can't think of anything else. I don't think we did Tooth Fairy particularly. Maybe a little bit. I think I was always uncomfortable with it. So we never really... it was done. If it was done at all, it was done apologetically. And this is just a little thing we do for fun. Don't take it too seriously.
Right. Because that is scary. Like, this creature is going to creep into your room while you're sleeping.
Yes. Yes. A lot of that, the stories people make up for children are kind of scary.
Well, that goes back to my original point, though, is that a lot of those stories were made to keep children from going in the woods or keep children from going into
well, that's true.
Old ladies' houses.
Good intentions.
Right? I mean, that's what a lot of those, like, isn't Krampus maybe, I don't, isn't that kind of one of those?
Story.
I don't want to know that story.
Yeah. So
I know enough about that story to know I don't want to know
it. I think it's not a recent parenting, what would you call it? I mean, it's something that I think has been going on for centuries.
Yes, yes.
We've been
true.
Telling our kids.
We've been lying to our kids.
Our generation of parents just thinks about stuff more, I guess. You know, there's the whole encouragement to do big things, to put them on social media. But then there's also the 500 articles about whether it's a good thing to do or not, which didn't used to be a problem. You know, are you a bad parent if you lie to your kids? Are you a bad parent if you don't lie to your kids? If you do a big holiday thing, is that good? Is that bad? You know, take your pick. Yeah. I'm sure there's somebody arguing each side of that fervently.
Yes.
So
I think we definitely think about it more, but that often doesn't stop us from still doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
I think, like Terry, you said lies of omission. I think mine is the mild misdirection.
Right.
Like, where's my XYZ? Oh, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I do know.
Yeah.
I do know that I threw it away, or I do know that I already ate it, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. We'll have to look for that.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think all parents do that. But also sometimes if there's a thing that would be hard and it's not necessary for the kid to know, then why am I going to put that in your brain? You don't need to have that. And sometimes it's really hard because I want to talk about it, but it's like, no, this is not, I will bear this burden. Yeah. You do not need to know this. That happens sometimes in families.
I've always struggled with that because I always worry about, well, what happens if they find out or when they do find out?
Yeah. That's true.
When my daughter, I'm sorry, I keep taking this off in the not so pleasant directions, but when my daughter was younger and had a friend who was very ill and was in the hospital and had the parents found out fairly early on after their daughter was diagnosed that it was a terminal illness. Oh. We really thought and felt that we needed to share that with Kristen so that she wasn't blindsided by it at the end, right?
Yeah.
So I always have struggled with that.
Yeah.
I didn't go into a lot of detail, but we kind of kept her abreast of as the events unfolded and things happened, and we didn't want to be saying, because kids talk too, right, on the playground.
Right, definitely.
That's the other thing.
That is true.
Kids talk. So I don't know.
I'm sure I've made those kinds of mistakes before. It's omitted something that then is found out later and is upsetting. But there are things, I think there are a few things that would not be known to others. And so,
and sometimes if you're talking about it's something in the news or that kind of thing,
right? It
kind of blows over or gets replaced by some other thing, and then it's okay that they never heard it, or once they do, maybe it's a softer blow because it's happened a while ago.
Well, that's a good point. Stuff in the news. How much do you tell kids? In what detail do you tell them? You try to simplify things. You don't necessarily want to get into every single detail of the school shooting or 9/11 or whatever. You have to kind of pitch it to their particular age. And, I don't know if that's a lie or if that's just a paraphrase.
Yeah. Well, and because kids do talk and you don't want them getting misinformation. So you want them to have the accurate information, but yet it has to be age appropriate, and the stuff they're getting from outside the house may not be age appropriate, and you can't block it all. You just can't.
It's hard. I mean, if you have a kid who is easily upset by things, there have been times I just really did not want to say stuff about stuff in the news because I knew it would be a thing, and you can't not, but. Like we talk about TV shows or movies, if it's a horror movie and there's a part you don't want to watch, you close your eyes, put your hands over your ears. I kind of feel like it's like that. It's like, there's parts of this you don't need to hear or see. Just close your eyes. I will put my hands over your ears. But gosh, especially with social media though, there's just no way you can't because it's like all over social media in a second, So there have been things that I have told them about just because I knew they were going to see it and I wanted them to hear it from me. And I hate that. I wish that were not the case. I wish people would just shut up.
And that's why I kind of feel like we probably held back more with my son, but with my daughter because she had the influence of her older brother and the influence of the internet and cell phones. And I think maybe that's why we were also more honest with her about certain things because that we may have withheld from our son because we knew that she would find out anyway and that she would have a lot of questions about it. So I think, and maybe that's just true in general with second kids and the third, kids, because they're just going to hear about it sooner.
Yeah.
It's harder to keep it on the down low.
Yeah,
So,
that's true.
So probably, I think too, that's another reason why we were a little bit more open with our daughter, and other than, of course, the whole deer versus the gas station bathroom scenario.
Yes, that darn social media making it difficult for us to lie. Dang
right?
One of the many burdens it must bear.
Yes. So, I don't know,
now the kid's going to say, "Where's the deer? I want to take a picture of it on my phone."
I know. Were you told any lies by your parents that you've since found out about?
I don't know. I suppose. I mean, I don't think I was told the exact nature of my relationship to my sister until I was older, which I would not necessarily have understood. I seem to remember when I found out she was my half-sister, not my sister, feeling a little ticked. And I don't know. I'm sure there were other things. I think there was stuff.
So you thought Santa, she was your sister, but just much older.
Yes. Yeah. I know it didn't really change anything, but I mean, I know we had relatives who did a whole elaborate Santa thing. And at some point, I know I found out, I don't remember if I was angry or not. I think I was just concerned that it would mean I would stop getting presents.
Right.
As once that was made clear for me, it was like, oh, cool. So now I negotiate with you, Mom, instead of having to write a letter to the guy in the suit. Excellent.
Right. We just cut out the middleman. Excellent.
You're much more responsive to guilt than Santa is.
I don't feel like I can't think of anything major, which kind of, it goes back to this whole, like, how could you lie to your kids? Like, well, we probably all have. I mean, and even when you're adults, people lie to you too. Like, it's just life. Like, you all have to learn how to live with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But some of the ones in that article were funny.
They were. I had to laugh.
Like, I've definitely heard the one before about, like, the ice cream truck plays music when it's out of ice cream.
Oh, see, I haven't heard that one.
And I've also heard, I know someone who did, it's the music truck. Isn't that nice? They just left ice cream out of it entirely. Oh, it just goes through the neighborhood and plays music for us. Which I thought was a good call.
That's funny. Yeah.
That's one of the ones when the kids find out you were lying, they're going to be ticked.
Like, you owe me about 25 ice cream cones right now.
Yep.
Yeah.
See, my kids have figured out that I like ice cream, and if they want ice cream, they just need to say, like, can we get ice cream and you can have one,
Right. And this is the fraught thing about all of this, is that if you tell a lie like that to your kid, and then your kid says that to other kids, they're going to get laughed at, and it's going to be your fault. And do you want to be responsible for that? Maybe it's worth it to not have to buy ice cream 500 times a week, but you don't want to be. That's an excruciating moment for your child.
Right.
When they're being laughed at and realizing they were betrayed by their parent at the same time.
And realizing they missed out on a whole lot of ice cream.
Betrayal and humiliation all together. And yes, and sorrow for lost ice cream.
Right.
That's a lot. You got to be careful about that, I think.
Yeah. I can't think of any. I mean, I'm sure my parents did tell me. But
maybe there are things and we just never found them out.
We still don't know.
That's right.
There are possible skeletons in the closet in my family, and my only comfort is that there are people in my family who would have told if they knew, because that's the kind of people they were. So I feel pretty good that there's not, but you never know. There's a couple of things I wonder about.
Could be some surprises.
Yes, but I don't. There's a couple of individuals in particular that I don't think could have kept a secret. So unless people were lying to them too.
Which is possible.
Which is always possible. You never know.
Yeah.
That's why people take those DNA tests. You never know.
Yeah, there was such a fascinating article in the New York Times, like a huge special section.
Yeah.
It was all about all the revelations that are coming out.
Lots of family secrets.
Yes, because of the DNA. Like, this parent is not my actual parent, or I have a secret brother, or, all kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It was fascinating.
I would pass on doing any of that. I'm happy with my life the way it is. Thank you very much. Not looking for anything else. So I will continue in my ignorance, if ignorance it is. Out of respect for deceased lie tellers,